Hey, good morning, guys. Continue to take a look at your questions on 10.5, solving quadratics by completing the square. Again, just giving us another tool to solve quadratics, equations that involve p squared or x squared. All right, so this is number 34 on 10.5. 3p squared minus 30p minus 11 equals 6p. So we got just a little bit of work here to do before we actually complete the square. I want to get all of my variables on one side, everything with a variable on one side, and all my constants, everything without a variable on the other. So in this case, I want to add 11 to both sides, and I'm also going to take away 6p from both sides. All right, I want to get rid of this 6p over here, so I need to subtract it. And I want to get rid of this minus 11 over here, so I need to add it. All right, so let me do that. So I'm going to add 11 on both sides, and I'm also going to take away 6p on both sides. Okay, so that gives me not a new equation. I shouldn't say new equation. It's the same equation, just looks a little different. So that's going to be 3p squared minus 30p and minus 6p. I don't care if you cha-ching this or however you look at it. If I subtract 30 and then I subtract 6 more, that's like subtracting 36. These zero out and I get 11. So there's my equation now. 3p squared minus 36p equals 11. And now I'm ready to complete the square on this. Now, this is something I probably should have covered a little bit more in the notes, but hopefully they covered it in the book. But regardless, that's why I'm making these videos. So to complete the square, we can't complete the square if that's a 3p squared. All right, that has to be just a 1. All right, so what I can do is I can make that a 1 by dividing everything by 3. All right, if I divide everything by 3, that gives me p squared minus 12p equals, and I'm just going to leave that 11 thirds. All right, so now I'm ready to complete the square. I take half of 12, which is 6. I square it, which is 36, and that's what I want to add to both sides. So that gives me p squared minus 12p plus 36 equals, now 11 thirds, that's 3 and 2 thirds. All right, 3 and 2 thirds plus another 36 is 39 and 2 thirds. Yuck. All right. But it is what it is. All right. We just have to deal with this. So now I've made this a perfect square. I have completed the square. I'm ready to factor this thing. All right. So again, two numbers that multiply together to give me 36, but add together to give me negative 12. Again, is 6 and 6. Again, that was that half of 12, the thing we did before we squared it. All right. So this can be factored as p minus 6 squared, and it still equals 39 and 2 thirds. Okay. And now I'm ready to start to solve this thing because I've got my perfect square, so I can use the square root. I can do the opposite and do it to both sides. All right, so I take the square root of both sides here. Here I get just p minus 6, and here I'm going to get both the positive and the negative root of 39 and 2 thirds. All right. And then finally, to solve this thing to get p by itself, I want to add 6 to that. All right. So p is going to be both the positive and negative root. And actually, typically we write the 6 first. 6 plus or minus. Actually, I'm changing my mind again. I'm going to go back to this. The positive and negative square root of 39 and 2 thirds. And then I want to add 6. All right. And so now this, I can just type in my calculator. I'm going to move my screen so you guys can see it a little bit. All right. So I do the square root of 39 and 2 thirds. All right. Let me see what that is. So the square root of 39 and 2 thirds. So give me just a minute here. All right. My calculator actually doesn't do fractions quite as nicely as yours does. All right. So I do all right, so I do the square root of 39 and 2 thirds, and I get about 6.3 or so, and then I want to add 6 to that, so I get about 12 and 3 tenths. All right, and then I do, so that's going to be one of my answers. One of my answers is about 12 and 3 tenths, so x is about 12 and 3 tenths. And then I do the square root of 39 and 2 thirds, but I do the negative value of that. Okay. and that's going to give me about negative 6.3. And I still add 6 to that, and I get about negative 3/10. All right, so there we go. That one a little bit trickier. I get the questions on that again. But the key thing that I want to point out here is if your square term has a coefficient, has a number in front of it, anything other than 1, you've got to get rid of it. All right, you've got to divide everything by that, and that can sometimes lead to some ugly answers. All right, but other than that, here is your solution for 34. Again, it's about 12 and 3/10 or negative 3/10. All right. Hope that helps. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. Take care.